Hello guys, my name is James. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Jack's father visits Virgin River. He and Jack have a contentious relationship. It's his first time in Virgin River. He criticizes everything about Jack's life, including the paint on the outside of the bar. Mel mistakenly tells Jack's father about the twins. She was unaware that his parents didn't know. Jack's father critiques his decision to not marry Charmaine because of the pregnancy. He also accuses Jack of not following through, which sends Jack into a bit of a spiral, repainting the bar and refusing to stop until finished. Jack and Mel discuss his relationship with his father, as Jack worries that it may be an indicator about the kind of father he'll be. He agrees to meet and speak with his dad. They clear the air about what's important to both of them. Jack's dad also confesses that his mom wants a divorce. He initially blames his father but later finds out from Bree that his mom wants to travel, but his dad doesn't want to leave his job. He also doesn't tell his dad about Mel's pregnancy. Jack continues to worry about Mel's pregnancy and even brings up her running. Mel lets him know that her doctor says it's fine because she ran before the pregnancy. She insists that she's being careful. On a surprise trip Mel plans for Jack, the pilot has a cardiac event and Jack has to do an emergency landing. Mel worries that she may have hurt the baby, and checking on the baby revives discussion about paternity testing. Mel realizes that Jack doesn't want to know if he's the baby's father and lets him know that she can't live with the uncertainty. Jack admits that finding out he's not the biological father may impact how he feels about the baby. Mel delivers twins at the clinic and one is stillborn. This sends Mel into a bit of a spiral, reliving her own experience having a stillbirth. She initially hides from Jack that she did a stillbirth delivery. Jack starts drinking excessively. He uses the alcohol to self-medicate as he works through his PTSD from combat. Lonergan, the Marine who died in combat with Jack, has a brother who stopped by the annual fair to share one of his brother's letters with Jack. Jack has a flashback while performing at the fair. He passes out drunk that night after reading the letter while Mel has a miscarriage scare. He promises Mel that he'll stop but drinks and passes out the evening of Joey's wedding. The entire town looks for him and Mel is worried sick. Jack also opens up to Mel about losing his brother in a childhood accident. All of these incidents, in addition to Mel's insistence that he gets help, leads to Jack doing therapy after a recommendation from Preacher. Joey comes to town announcing her engagement to a high school flame. Mel voices her concerns about the apparent shotgun wedding, and this causes Joey's fiancé to call off the wedding. Ultimately, Mel apologizes and plans an entire wedding and reception for them. Mel's former sister-in-law, Stacy, visits Virgin River. She apologizes for sending Mel pics of her ultrasound and shares that she plans to name the baby Monroe after her brother Mark. She also asks Mel to help her keep Mark's memory alive for the baby. Stacy also gives Mel a heads up that her mother plans to seek custody of the fertilized embryos from Mark and Mel's marriage. Mel worries about the stress of dealing with a pregnancy and fighting a lawsuit. This situation ultimately makes Jack agree to do the paternity test. Mark's mother would have no claim if the baby is Jack's. The results reveal that Jack is the father. Jack proposes to Mel and she accepts. Jack plans to set up a glamping site on his property with Airstreams, as a way of earning income. Nick agrees with the idea and offers to be an investor. Mel attempts to help Dr. Hayek fit in, inviting him for dinner and trying to get to know him better. He develops feelings for Mel, and tries to support her when he finds out about the pregnancy. He also tries to advise Mel to leave Jack when he finds out about his problem with alcohol. Mel's reaction causes a rift and Dr. Hayek resigns from the clinic. Mel is concerned that his resignation will affect the clinic, especially since she may need bed rest towards the end of the pregnancy. Mel offers her resignation instead. Preacher starts Aikido classes as a way to cope with the stress of Christopher being missing. The beginners group class isn't a good fit and he ends up taking private classes with the instructor. Preacher and the Aikido instructor, Julia, start seeing each other, getting real close. She finds a drawing of Preacher, Paige, and Christopher and asks who they are. Preacher shares as much as he can, explaining that Paige's story isn't his to tell. Christopher calls Preacher one night using Vince's phone. Paige shows up unexpectedly after hearing about Christopher's abduction. She offers to exchange herself to Vince in exchange for Christopher's safe return. Preacher is against this, but Paige tricks him and meets up with Vince anyway. Christopher is returned. Preacher tracks down Vince at a cabin where he is holding Paige, rescues her and subdues Vince. Doc worries that Hope is isolating herself. He suggests she return to the sewing circle. Hope's diminished motor skills become obvious when she tries to deal cards. She has a meltdown when Lily's daughter, Tara, joins the group. Tara explains that joining the group helps with her grief and Hope leaves saying that she wasn't ready to be out. Tara visits Hope at home and they agree to support each other through the grief. Doc gets to know his grandson, Denny. Denny was raised by his grandparents because his mother died. Doc finds out that his son, Denny's dad, died shortly before Denny came to town. Doc is initially worried about telling Hope about his grandson, but Hope openly accepts him into the family, inviting him to stay with them at their house. The relationship goes through a rough patch with Mel catching Denny breaking into the clinic's controlled substance cabinet. Doc gives him a pass, but afterwards discovers that Denny was rifling through the clinic's financial documents. The distrust is further compounded by Lizzie finding prescription medication in Denny's drawer in someone else's name. Denny relents and tells Doc that he used the information about the clinic's financials and the money from his dad's life insurance to pay off the mortgage. He also confides in Doc about a health condition and makes him promise to not tell anyone. Hope shares her concerns about her illness with Mel. She worries that she's losing her mind. Mel explains that TBI injuries are usually associated with strong responses and that she'll get better with time and therapy. Hope admits to Doc that leaving the house and traveling affects her. She takes out her frustration on Doc. Hope finally confides in Doc that she needs alone time to properly recuperate. Doc worries that Hope's symptoms aren't improving and are at risk of it becoming permanent. Hope lies about going to the neurologist and causes a big argument between her and Doc. Hope acknowledges that the accident affected Doc too. They decide together to work at it together, including keeping all doctor appointments. Hope even agrees to hire Lizzie as a home health aide based on the doctor's recommendation. The sewing circle enlists the help of Hope in planting a garden in honor of Lily. Tara also reaches out to spend time with Hope with the aim of supporting each other. Brady survives a stabbing incident in prison. Jack feels responsible for Brady being stabbed because he was incarcerated for attempting to kill him. Mel tries to assuage his guilt by reminding him that Brady made some poor decisions, including working for Calvin. Bree gets in to see Brady at the hospital by pretending to be his lawyer. She confesses her love to him and promises to prove his innocence. Calvin tries to intimidate Brady by threatening Bree. Brady considered running, but Bree stops him from becoming a fugitive. Brady and Bree devise a plan to take down Calvin but realize that someone else is in charge of the criminal enterprise. Bree also asks Jack to get Mike to take another look at Brady's case. Bree works with Mike, finding the location of the boat Calvin hides on and the identity of the person who bailed Brady. Mike and Bree witness the boat explosion that kills Calvin before backup arrives, but doesn't tell Brady. Unbeknownst to them, this woman, Melissa, who's also Nick's sister, is the person in charge of the criminal enterprise. She introduces herself to Brady, trying to get him to fill Calvin's shoes after he dies in a boat explosion. Preacher finds a knife with blood under a sink in the bar when repairs are needed for a leak. The blood on the knife matches Vince. That, combined with one of the deputies being caught in league with Calvin, results in Brady's complete exoneration of the attempted murder of Jack. Bree tries to cope with PTSD from her sexual assault. She refuses therapy but ultimately confides in Brady. She is triggered when she gets a call from her assailant. Her attacker comes to Virgin River trying to get Bree to sign an NDA. Bree confronts him, telling him that she plans to file rape charges. Lizzie gets close to Denny while Ricky looks on. He prepares to leave for boot camp, trying to mend the rift he caused with Lizzie. He uses the performance of the Romeo and Juliet piece as a way to show his support. Lizzie is initially against it because the scene ends in a kiss, but decides to do it. He also encourages Denny and Lizzie spending time together. Lizzie wants to take her relationship with Denny further, but he keeps stalling. She thinks he's not interested and possibly hiding something. Hope offers her a job as a home health aide, but Lizzie is hesitant because of her falling out with Denny. Denny ultimately tells her that he doesn't want to get into a serious relationship because he has Huntington's disease. Ricky worries about being good enough for basic training. Jack helps him work through the feelings of inadequacy and he gets ready to leave. Lizzie comes to terms with him enlisting, telling him that she'll miss him, and organizes for the town to send him off with fanfare and banners. Ricky's grandma decides not to go with him to the bus because she doesn't want to be emotional in front of Ricky. Her friends come by to support her. Jack and Charmaine argue about her not telling him the twins' gender. Their relationship improves as Charmaine seems to accept that Jack's future is with Mel. As time passes, Charmaine's husband Todd seems less involved in the pregnancy and doesn't show up for the gender reveal and baby shower. Jack steps up by not only attending, but helping Charmaine at the event. The season ends with Charmaine calling Jack saying it's an emergency. Jack and Mel find her at home on the floor crying. Before she tells them what happened, she tearfully says that she deserves what happened and reveals that Jack isn't the twins' biological father. What could happen in Virgin River Season 5? Viewers will very likely tune into Season 5 to get answers. Who is the father of Charmaine's twins? Will Brady ultimately agree to work for Melissa? When will the police find out that Melissa is a criminal? Is her brother Nick a part of the criminal enterprise? We hope to get all this answered in the next season.